Welcome to yet another edition of the Warrior SuperCast, the podcast for the Wittenwood School District, highlighting the superstars of the district. Welcome back. We are back in session here in the Wittenwood School District, and we are very fortunate to have today discussing a little bit of something that I know is on the tip of everyone's tongue, and that is the schools themselves. I've got Steve Denny and Mr. John Pennycoff joining me today to discuss the buildings themselves. Steve, glad you could join us.
Thanks, Jason. Good to be here.
Good that you could join us to give us a little bit of an insight, since that is a little bit of your ballywick here.
Yes.
What's going on at the buildings? We are getting all ramped up and excited, and everyone automatically assumed that day one hits and
Right.
shovels in the ground. But
That's right.
That's not how it always works.
No, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, of course.
Sure.
But no, we're entering an exciting phase right now. So we are extremely close to actual start on visible construction.
Sure.
So a lot of what's been happening for the last almost 2 years now is the design process, the selling of the bonds, the rating of the school district's bonds, and all those kinds of things going on behind the scenes. We're at the point now where we're just waiting on a permit.
Sure.
Once that permit is cleared, and we can give a notice to proceed with the state of Ohio, then we're ready to actually start turning dirt.
Considering the state has been a very large stakeholder and beneficiary to
Yes.
this whole process, obviously it's been at the sooner the better, obviously, but you don't
Yes.
want to jump ahead and miss any of the steps. Obviously, you did make mention in regards to the process that we've been going through. We haven't spoken really since that time. The design process obviously was an interactive event,
Yes.
really. It was something that is, to me, a little bit unprecedented. Again, reason for that was more than likely just a lot of input because it is so community involved.
Yes, it's correct. This is one of the biggest assets the community owns.
Mm-hmm.
And it does belong to our stakeholders, our taxpayers. So we wanted it to be very wraparound, all-encompassing, involving a lot of different voices. And we actually started with students. And we've come back to students several times. We're going to come back to them again, even on interior design, as we enter that phase of the design process. But right now, as of yesterday, we're up to 116 design meetings since October of 2017. Involving a wide variety of stakeholders, staff, a lot of those meetings with staff. We certainly had meetings with communities at large, just open forum type meetings with each community, but a great deal of it's with staff and trying to understand the needs of the departments, the needs of the students, the needs of the teachers in order to make these buildings come alive. And the other thing I'd add, and part of what's perhaps lengthened the process a bit more than average, is these buildings are pretty unique. They're designed toward a very future-ready type education. We're trying to empower PBL. You can make the building do anything. It's a very flexible space. It's easily modifiable later if there's ever changes down the road that need to occur. But it's envisioned to empower this sort of active learning, this involved project-based, problem-based learning process, and really not get in the way of that like our current buildings just happen to do because they were built in another time.
Right. And again, you're using those keywords that are very integral to the Wittenwood School District, and I'm glad that you're showing that, not only because that's what we're instilling in our children in the district, but it's really the district. It is really that true motto of the district.
Right.
Going through what we've been through and what we're going to be continue going through, is this something unique to Wittenwoods and in our district, or is this something that you're seeing in general throughout the country in regards to new facilities going forward?
Yes. I think this is reflected perhaps the best in the way the state itself approaches this now. They actually, if they're going to co-fund a project, like in our case, they're picking up about half the tab. So they've got a lot of say.
Sure.
And if you accept their money, you have to accept their terms, which is understandable. But they actually position themselves to say, okay, district, if you're interested in building with us, you have to set a vision for what your facilities are going to do. And oh, by the way, we've got consultants on hand and people that are approved in the state that we'd like you to work with, and we'll help fund that with you. Mm-hmm. But you actually need to create a vision that is not traditional education, because that is widely recognized now that the way we've educated children the last 200 years might need to change.
Fair.
Not to say that things have been wrong, but the world is a very changing, evolving place. And how do you meet the needs of the children of today, given the fact that the world is a very different place than it was perhaps even 10 years ago?
That's fair. You are listening and watching the Warrior SuperCast here on Waycross Community Media, and I am joined talking about the buildings with Mr. Pennycuff and Mr. Denny here from the Wynwood District. Mr. Pennycuff, as a former board member, kind of giving that former look, going future to forward here, your outlook on regards to the buildings themselves, because obviously there's some items on the background, as Mr. Denny had stated, that are going to need to come forward. You as a stakeholder in the past, being a former board member, and now looking forward, how does this building affect you, again, former board member and current member of the community?
Well, it's very exciting to know that the students in the future, students whose names we don't yet know, students who are not yet born, will have access to buildings that are more accommodating, more flexible, require less maintenance cost, maintenance costs that subtract from program costs that our students in the future will continue to need. So as a member of the community, I'm very excited. In fact, I keep watching for the dirt to start moving, and I know as I'm working with our community on this tax levy, I am asked, wait a minute, didn't we approve something a couple of years ago, and why don't I see dirt being moved just yet? And is this the same thing? And of course, it's not the same thing. The school cannot use money that was raised for construction, for operation, and so that's part of the education of voters, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
We're glad to have the able mind to lead us forward in that, and that is definitely something we're going to be discussing in a future podcast on that as well. Mr. Denny, he brought up bringing the dirt. When does it happen?
Well, I'm excited to announce that we will actually have a groundbreaking ceremony October 17th. It's at 10 a.m. It'll be at the high school site, which is the home of the new 712 building.
Sure.
And it'll be followed an hour and a half later by the groundbreaking ceremony at the K6 site in Green Hills, where the current middle school is located. So we're very excited about that, and we'll actually be moving dirt prior to that. So again, we're down to waiting on a permit and a notice to proceed from the state, and I think we'll start to see some pretty heavy activity as we prepare to do the underground utilities and the early earthwork.
Obviously, we have someone from the community eagerly excited. This is a project you've seen from the ground up. So, sorry the pun and all, but
Right.
How does it make you feel to know that this is actually ready to happen?
It's an extremely rewarding experience to see kind of the culmination of so many team members, so many community members, and our students. I mean, we've had students involved. We'll continue to have them involved. This building is for them, but it's also for the community and for our staff. So it's very rewarding. Yeah, we're excited.
All right. Well, we are looking forward to seeing this happen, and I'm sure we will be there with camera in hand to document everything as much as possible.
We'd love to see you there.
Perfect. Well, both of you, I'd like to thank you for this time that we were able to share in regards to the buildings, and we will continue our conversation moving forward as the years progress.
Excellent.
Excellent. I want to thank you for joining us as well. You have been listening to and watching the Warrior SuperCast here on Waycross Community Media. I'm Jason Grzgorek, Waycross Community Media's Government Access Coordinator, giving you the opportunity to look at the things that you need to know in the Warrior Nation here on the SuperCast. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
So you putting in effort. Are you ready for the new technology?